There's a number that has quietly stopped thousands of people from getting UAE residency through the property. And that number is 750,000. And this week, that number changed. If you've been watching Dubai's property market and wondering whether you can actually live here legally through a property purchase, this video is for you. Because the UAE just updated their 2-year investor residency visa, and for the first time, the minimum property value requirement has been lowered. This means a completely new group of buyers at a completely new price point now have a residency pathway that they didn't before. I'm going to walk you through exactly what changed, who benefits most, how this compares to the Golden Visa, and practically speaking, what you should do next if you're one of the people this affects. Let's get into this. What the old rule was, first, some background, because this only makes sense if you understand what the rule was before. The UAE offers two main property-linked residency visas. The first one is a Golden Visa that requires a property worth at least 2 million dirhams. It gives you 10 years of residency, which is obviously renewable. It is the premium route for high-value properties and long-term investors. The second one is the 2-year investor visa. That's the one we're talking about today. The 2-year investor visa has existed for years. It was designed as the entry-level residency route for property owners who weren't in the Golden Visa bracket. But here's where it got complicated. The old rule, which was minimum 2-year visa, was about 750,000. That sounds accessible until you realize that 750,000 is actually above average asking price for a one-bedroom apartment in most mid-market communities like JVC, one of the most popular expat communities in Dubai. Average one-bedroom started at around 550 a few years ago. In Arjan, it was even lower. Dubai South, lower. Obviously, now these properties have crossed 750,000, which meant that if you had bought a 650,000 apartment in JVC, a legitimate freehold investment in one of the Dubai's most in-demand rental areas, you still didn't qualify for the residency visa. You owned a property in Dubai, you paid the DLD fee, you registered your title deed, and you still couldn't get a residency through it. That was the gap. That was the old rule that was created. This week, that gap changed. The UAE has updated the minimum property value requirement for the 2-year investor visa. The 750,000 floor has been lowered. I want to be transparent with you here because the official documentation from ICP is still being updated. The announcement has moved faster than paperwork. What multiple sources are confirming this week? One, the minimum threshold has been reduced, making properties below 750,000 eligible. Two, the change appears to apply to completed, ready properties registered with Dubai Land Department in designated freehold zones. Third, off-plan properties under certain partnerships may also qualify once the property is registered. My strong recommendation before you act on this, verify the exact current threshold directly with DLD or an ICP registered PRO. The direction of this change is clear. The exact number needs official confirmation from your specific situation. But the direction matters. The access point for UAE residency through property just dropped significantly. So let's talk about who this actually helps, because not every buyer benefits equally. Group 1, first-time buyers entering below 750,000. This is the biggest group. Anyone who has been looking at studio apartments or one bedrooms in developing communities, buying in the 400,000 to 700,000 range, now has a residency pathway that they didn't have before. Group 2, off-land buyers in qualifying developments. Off-land buyers have historically been in a gray area for the investor visa because the property isn't registered until completion or does not have the title deed until completion. The new Emirates NBD off-plan mortgage partnership and the visa threshold change happening simultaneously suggests that the policy framework is being updated to support this buyer profile more clearly. Group 3, investors who previously owned but didn't qualify. If you bought apartments in JVC 3-4 years ago at 580,000, you're now sitting on a property that potentially qualifies for a residency pathway. You didn't before. You don't need to buy anything new. You may already be holding a qualifying asset. I want to be clear about one thing because I've seen a lot of confusion in the comments of other videos this week. The Golden Visa is not changing. The 10-year Golden Visa still requires a minimum property value of 2 million dirhams that is unchanged. What changed is the 2-year investor visa, the shorter entry level residency route. Here's how to think about the two. The 2-year visa, lower property value, entry point, renewable every 2 years, tied to the property ownership. If you sell, you need to re-establish the basis. The Golden Visa, 2 million dirham minimum property value, 10-year validity, includes family sponsorship under the owner's name. Let's get practical. What do you actually need to do if you want to use this pathway? Step 1. Confirm your property qualifies. The property needs to be completed and should be ready in a designated freehold zone in Dubai, registered in your name on the DLD that has a title deed and above the new minimum threshold. Main qualifying zones: previously owned studios in JVC, JVT, Arjan, Dubai South, International City, Livan, Reem Ram, Furjan. Step 2. Gather your documents. You'll need your title deed, passport, Emirates ID application, and proof of your property value. Use the DLD valuation figures, not the purchase price. Step 3. Apply through the ICP or via a registered PRO. Processing time typically takes 2 to 4 weeks for a clean application. Step 4. Get your Emirates ID approved. Once approved, your Emirates ID unlocks bank accounts, driving licenses, school enrollment, and all practical benefits of being a UAE resident. Total cost is expected to be around 7,000 dirhams and governmental fees. This includes medical, Emirates ID, and PRO cost for a single application. Here's the part most people are not talking about yet. This policy change doesn't just affect individual buyers, it changes the demand dynamic for an entire segment of the buy property market. Communities like JVC Arjan, Dubai South have been primarily buy to let markets. That was partially because of the residency pathway, because it wasn't previously there for that price point. Now it is. What happens when a buy to let market gets a residency pathway added to it? Owner occupier demand enters. Owner occupiers pay a premium over pure investors for the right unit. I'm not saying prices are going to spike overnight, but this is a structural demand change, not a speculative one. And a structural demand changes tend to be more durable than news cycles. Let me wrap this up with the three things I want you to take away. One, the UAE has lowered the minimum property value for the 2-year investor visa. The old floor was 750,000. The new announced or expected floor is going to be 400,000. Two, this opens the residency pathway to a completely new tier of buyer, studio and one bedroom, primarily in upcoming areas. Three, if you already own a property that is below 750,000 in a qualifying freehold, you may now hold an asset that qualifies for residency, worth checking with a PRO. The door to UAE residency through property just got wider. That's good news. If you found this useful, subscribe. I drop one video a week breaking down the buy property in plain English. Part 2 coming soon.